All right, so we're going to introduce asymptotes. So that's the big X. So this is from the last problem. If I were to draw this rectangle, the asymptotes would travel through the corners of each rectangle, and then those asymptotes guide the little arms. Okay, so that's what we're finding is the equation of the asymptotes. So first of all, I notice it's subtraction. I notice I got x squared and y squared, so that tells me I'm in the hyperbola world. So divide everything by 51/84. So 81 over 51/84 should be 64. 51/84 gives me, piece of trash. Hang on. It is. All right. So I get y squared over 64 minus x squared over 81 equals 1. Okay, so I'm just going to take it a step further. I know it opens up, down. And so there's nothing being added or subtracted to the x's and the y's. So I know that I just need to go from the center. So it opens up, down. So I'm going to go up and down 8. So this is going to be 0, positive 8. And this is going to be 0, negative 8. And then for the other sides of the box, I'm going to go left and right 9. So he's positive 9, negative 9. Okay, so he's 9, 0. And now I need to know the location of the foci. Okay, so remember this is a true Pythagorean relation. So 64 plus 81 equals c squared. And so 64 and 81 will give me, I'm too tired for this, 145. So 145 is c squared. So remember, since it opens up, down, then the arms of the hyperbola are going to hug the foci. So my foci will be here and here, and I just need to take a square root of both sides. So from 0, I'm going to go up and down root 145. So my x coordinate is going to stay the same, and then my y coordinate will go up root 145 and down root 145. And those are the locations of your foci. Now, the last step is going to be, what are your equations for your asymptotes? So I'm going to rewrite this because I ran out of room. So I got a y squared over 64 minus x squared over 81 equals 1. Okay, so your formula that's on the sheet, you're going to notice that there's only one difference between these two things. On each one, you're going to take the y minus k portion. I don't care if it's negative or if it's positive. Just take that chunk, unsquare it. Then you're going to set it equal to something times the x minus h portion that's not squared. So I don't care if it's positive or negative, just leave it alone. But now notice you're either going to have a b over an a or an a over a b. So what is slope? Because we're representing slope here. Slope is going to be your change in y over your change in x. So if you're doing this one, well, what's attached to the y? It's b squared. So there's your change in y, so it's just b, over what's attached to the x. That's going to be your a squared, but you're just going to write it as an a. And then it's just flipped from here. So this one, what's attached to your y squared is going to be a squareds. Okay, so you have your change in y over your change in x. That's it. Okay, so what do we have here? Take your y chunk, which is just y squared. That is such a lie. I just said don't square nothing. All right, so y equals, and now take this square root, because it's attached to the y, over this square root. So this square root is 8, over this square root is 9, and it's going to be plus or minus, and then take this chunk, which is, in this case, just an x. Okay, and that's the equation of your asymptote. So they're going to travel through the origin. They'll either go up 8/9 or they're going to go down 8/9. And that's the equation of your asymptotes. So when you fill it out, it's going to say the equation of the asymptote with a positive slope is, so you're going to say y equals 8/9 x, and then the negative is going to be y equals negative 8/9 x, and you're done. Okay? So for the find the standard form. So my standard form is this. First of all, what do I notice? He opens left, right. So I know I'm going to lead off with an x squared. I also know it's centered at 0. Okay, so I've got an x squared over minus a y squared over equals 1. And then how do I get to my vertices? So how far left and right did I move? I moved left and right 6, so square it. Okay, And now you can easily get this one, because I can go up and down 3, square it. And there you go. You're all done. Okay? Hang on. Wait a minute. Where did it go? All right. So that was just number 6. All right. I didn't know if we had to find asymptotes or anything. All right. So here we go. Do it again. This one opens up, down. So I'm going to lead off y squared minus x squared equals 1. Again, I'm just diving in because I know it's centered at 0. So how far up and down did I go? I went up 2, down 2, so square it. And then how far left and right did I go? I went left 5, right 5, so square it, and you get 25. And that's the equation. All right, so what about this one? This one is moved, okay? So first of all, find the coordinate of your center. So the center on this is going to be 4, negative 1. That's where that's where your asymptotes cross. Okay, so if I've got 4, negative 1, that means, all right, hang on, back up. Find this equation. Does it open left, right, or up, down? It opens left, right. Okay, so I'm going to have x squared minus y squared equals 1. Okay, so I immediately start off with the x's because it opens left, right. Now, change these signs and slap them in there. So this, instead of being a positive 4, will be a minus 4. Instead of being a negative 1, it'll be a positive 1. And then, all I got to do is find out how far I went. So from the center, how far left and right did I go? Well, this goes over to 9, and this goes over to negative 1, so I moved left and right 5. Square it. How far up and down did I go? So this is negative 1, and it goes up to 3. This is negative 1, it goes down to 4. And so that, wait, I don't know what I just said. All right, that goes up to 3, so it's 4, so square it. And that's it. You are done. You just found the equations. Okay? So use the center vertices and asymptotes to graph the parabola. Locate the foci, find the equations of the asymptotes. Okay, so what do we know? First of all, don't pay attention. Well, actually, do pay attention. You need to notice that your x's, change its sign, is positive 1, and your y's, change its sign, is negative 2. So the center of this thing, or where your asymptotes cross, is going to be at 1, negative 2. So if I come here, I go to 1, negative 2. That's not anywhere close. So I'm going to go to 1, negative 2. That looks like it's a possibility. But I'm leading off with y's, and this one opens left, right. So this is not it. All right, so go 1, negative 2. That's not it. Go 1, negative 2, and then this one opens up, down. So it's got to be D. Okay? So just basic shapes. The foci are, so true Pythagorean relation says a squared plus b squared equals c squared. So I'm going to get 34 and take its square root. So I'm going to get plus or minus 34. So here's where you pay attention. I'm going to go up, down. Yes? So your y coordinate will change. Your x coordinate won't. So rewrite your x coordinate and then give me this part of your y coordinate, but leave some space. So then how far up and down do you go? I go up root 34 and I go down root 34 from that spot. Okay, so again, if that was a nice pretty number like 6, then you would just do negative 2 plus 6, negative 2 minus 6, and you could put that together. All right, what are your asymptotes? So this one, we're going to have a y plus 2, and I'm going to write it on this page. Okay, so I'm going to take the y stuff that's squared, but I'm not going to square it. So it's y plus 2 equals, take the x stuff, and that's x minus 1, but don't square it. Put a plus minus, and then whatever's attached to the y, take its square root, so that's a 3, over, now what's attached to the x, take its square root, and there you go. Okay, so when I clean this up, you might be able to just enter it this way, but just in case you can't. Okay, so I've got a y plus 2 equals positive 3/5 x, or positive negative 3/5 x, and then positive negative 3/5 times 1. Okay, so that's going to change that. I was going to distribute that. That's stupid. All right, so I've got positive 3/5 x times negative 1 is negative 3/5. Okay, and then I've got y plus 2 equals negative 3/5 x. And then a negative times a negative is a positive 3/5. And now the only thing I got to do is subtract off 2. So negative 3/5 minus 10/5 is negative 7/5, or just do it in your calculator, which I realize is tacky. But negative 3/5, I just said that totally wrong. Negative 3/5 minus 10/5 is negative 13/5. Okay, subtract 2 on this one, so negative 3/5 x. So positive 3/5 minus 10/5 is negative 7/5. So those are your two. I think you can just enter it like this, though, because I've got it set up to accept unsimplified is correct. All right, I got 5 more minutes. We have, ooh, we can do this. Okay, so we've got 2 more questions. The first one is, it is set up where we've got to organize first, and we're going to have to complete the square. So I've got 4x squared. That's not an x. So 4x squared minus 9y squared. And then minus 40x plus 54y and minus 17 equals 0. So I'm going to start by putting all my y's together, all my x's together. So I got a 4x squared minus 40x's. I got a negative 9y squared plus a 54y equals positive 17. And now remember, I got to factor out. So I'm going to factor out a 4. So that gives me x squared minus 10x. And be careful, you're going to factor out a negative 9. So negative 9 is going to change this to a y squared minus 6y equals 17. So if I complete the square, I'm going to have half of this is 5, squared is 25. But really and truly, you didn't just make a 25, you made a 100 because you got a coefficient. So add 100. For this one, half of this is 3 squared is 9. So you made a 9, but really and truly, watch your signs, you made a negative 81. Okay, so now I've got a 4 times x minus 5 squared minus a 9 times y minus 3 squared equals, I don't know what that is, 117, hang on, minus 81 is 36. That's pretty. All right. So divide everything by 36. And so 4 over 36 reduces to 9. Minus 9 over 36 reduces to 4 equals 1. Okay? So now where am I at? It says, would you please tell me the standard form, which we just did. So here's standard form. I know it opens left, right. I know that my center is at positive 5, positive 3, and I know from the center it will open left, right. So that's not positive 5, positive 3. Here's positive 5, positive 3, and it opens left, right. Here's positive 5, positive 3, but it opens up, down, and that's not anywhere close. So B is our answer. Okay. So where are my foci? True Pythagorean relation. So I've got a 9 plus a 4 equals c squared. So root 13 plus or minus is 3. So here's what I know. I know it opens left, right. I know my center is at 5, 3. I know I'm going to move left and right 3. So 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. And that's going to be the location of my vertices. I'm going to go up and down 2. Okay. So now, how do I find the foci? What's going to change? This will not change. So my foci will be 5, 3. And again, 5, with not a comma there, 3. But what did I add and subtract? I added and subtracted positive root 13 and negative root 13. So those are your two coordinates. They're ugly, but they're coordinates. So the last thing is going to be, what is your true Pythagorean relation? So I'm going to write it up here because I'm almost out of time. All right. So I've got an x minus 5 squared. Well, I need to start off with the y's. Okay. So I've got y minus 3, don't square it, equals x minus 5, don't square it. And then the square root of this denominator, which is attached to the y's, over the square root of this denominator. So that's going to be a 2 over a 3. So we have plus or minus 2 over 3. And do I have time? I don't. All right. So, and then you got one more, and it's just like the one that we just did. So that section is done.